We are ready to party.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
You got cleaning products, too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the product to your front door. See you guys.
Woo! In New York, concrete jungles where dreams are made of. They're getting sweet by Charlotte FC. Welcome to a new episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. Finally, boys, after what feels like weeks, we can finally come on the show and talk about a Charlotte FC win. It has been a while, but boys, what a good win this weekend. And we'll start off by introducing my main man, Brian. Brian, how are you today, man? How you feeling? Did you get wet this weekend?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was a great weekend. I was kind of nervous at first just because of the rain, but just seeing the way they played, it was a great weekend. I'm really excited for this upcoming Saturday.
Nice. My man Lee, how you feeling, man? After sweeping the MLS Cup champs, were you able to properly watch the game, or were you looking at like the 10-yard line, 40-yard line? Was the field confusing to you? What was going on, bro?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I had a hard time just trying to learn how to fly a flag, apparently, man. That thing would wrap around that pole on me all the damn time. So that was where most of my focus was on the game, but I did catch the goal, 5 minutes in. And, yeah, we did sweep him, man. And shout out to Brian and his brother, man, for the Yeti right there that we got, man. So,
bro,
Yeti clan,
those boys are amazing. Shout out to the Yeti clan, man. They always show up.
Yeah.
They got pictures with everybody. I mean, these guys are taking photos with Clint Dempsey as well. So they're big time now. So we appreciate them coming on. So,
hey, but I got a question for you, man. Like, if you were to flip that hat around, what's it say?
LAFC.
No.
Hey, all right, just checking. And before we go any further, man, I know it's a short show, but to all the folks in England and Scotland, you're welcome. Tottenham was the first team to lose since King Charles is in charge. So you're welcome. Got that out there. We get it out there, man. It's like an M&M. I'm just going to go ahead and like flash it.
He's like, they're not coming for me. Let me
Yeah, preempt that, man. I'm getting way ahead of that, man. Yeah. No, it is. It's a lot more fun to do these after a win, right?
It is. It's a lot more fun. Even like just the general mood of like after a win at the stadium as well. Like more players are willing to talk to you.
Yeah.
Everyone is in a better mood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you hear the drums after the game too, and not just, during the game. So yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say like there was a big showing this weekend too. Charlotte says it's 30,000 people. We're going to say it is, right? I mean,
there was 30,000 there or 30,000 tickets sold? Because I don't think there wasn't 30,000.
I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no to that. I'm just a mouthpiece here. I'm just a messenger, right? Either way, everybody that showed up, I think it was very commendable that we still had a solid crowd, like as I was walking through, the field, like I could really feel and hear the supporters and feel the atmosphere. Like I was like, you know what, like even though there was less people, the atmosphere was still really, really good for
Good
the rain. So, like it was kind of a nasty day.
Well, we got lucky though, man, because like the whole game it didn't rain.
Yeah.
It was
for
like
sure.
when we were doing the fan interviews, it started pissing down again. I was like, of course. Right?
Right. But yeah, man, just shout out to the Charlotte FC fans. Not
100%.
this game, bro, but all season, man. Like one of the things that you and I talked about before even the team started, bro, I was like, I want us to be relevant and I want the city to really embrace, footy in the Carolinas. And they really have, bro.
Yeah.
Like we have one of the best atmospheres. Like I have friends that go to our games that aren't really big soccer fans. And then maybe they go to a game in Miami or a game somewhere else, and they're like, you know what? Like, it's not like Charlotte. I'm like, oh, bro, we got something really special here. So,
no, I mean, I was doing a lot of trolling on the Panthers on Sunday just because I had nothing better to do. But you could see though, man. I mean, even the folks. I mean, a lot of people are tired of what's going on with the Panthers, right? So maybe Charlotte can get a lot of those crossover fans for sure.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of Browns fans this week, and I went for like a little run on Sunday, and I was like, good Lord, there's a lot of other teams shirts out here. But
it would be interesting if they did an away section like they do in the MLS, right? To see how which teams show up as an away, right?
Yeah. So they don't do that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
No. I guess that didn't fly in soccer, right? You get cut.
Yeah, for real. But anyways. Cool. Let's get into the game.
Yes.
FC, pull a 1-0 win this weekend against New York City FC. The lineup. First, I want to start talking a little bit about the lineup. We saw 4-2-3-1. We saw Karol Swiderski playing that attacking midfield role. And I kind of want your guys' thoughts on that. I mean, in my opinion, he looked really good.
That's probably one of the better games he's had all season.
Yeah, gave an assist to Rios. That ball that he put for Brandt, too, that Brandt didn't put in was beautiful. So, I mean, what do you make of him in this creative role?
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I think we just see what it's like Charlotte's like when we actually have like a technician, somebody who can really technically deliver the passes, the progressive passes, the carries up the field. And I think we saw like the results of that, which is just a lot of really awesome runs, finding with the ball coming at the end of those runs over and over and over again. I was really surprised when I saw at the half, we only had 6 shots total. I just felt like there was way more happening than that. I really felt like we controlled the vast majority of that first half. The second half, obviously, after the red card, alters the game script completely. But even at the start of the second half, I think they also came out really flying. I really enjoyed watching Swiderski in that role. Now, I don't think maybe that's permanent, but I mean, I think it's really nice to see the flexibility that he provides. And that Bronico's flexible too, right? He can play the 6 or the 8, but it's not like he's playing the 8 and then you're like, man, why are we even playing him at the 6? Right. But like with Swiderski, it's like he's not just changing positions. He can be the difference maker at these different positions. And I think that's pivotal.
Yeah, it is. And I also I found it interesting too, that when I interviewed him post-match, he said that in Greece, he started off at that cam role, that attacking midfield, and he played the wings. Like you could tell, Swiderski is one of those guys that there's multiple positions that you can play him, like you said, and he will do really well, right? Like we've talked about this ever since we signed him. I remember doing a show with Yuli talking about he's not going to be an out and out 9. Yeah. And I think that's been the biggest criticism that he's gotten this season. But I'm like, that's just not his game. He's not just going to stay in the box. He's going to drop back. He's going to link up play. He's going to create, and he's also going to score, right? And so a lot of the heat that he's gotten, I feel, in my opinion, has been a little bit unnecessary, right? He went through a drought, but even then, I mean, he's got 8 goals, 5 MLS assists this season. Imagine if you pair him up with another player that is at his level or above, what he can do, right?
It was just good to see it. You could tell he was having fun out there, right? I mean, it was just when he plays that striker position, as we want to ever define that, he definitely looks frustrated and that sort of thing during the game. But like this Saturday, man, he just looked like he was having fun. He was making some passes, even though the player that he was trying to pass to didn't make the run. But it was good to see that sort of forward progression instead of like coming back like we always do.
Yeah. And I think also just like it helped because having Rios there, I mean, I obviously we can get into the Shinyashiki Rios who needs to start at the 9, but just having somebody who also is willing to just literally stay in the box and just be on the back line, on the back shoulder of the center backs and be at the box while Swiderski's running all over the place is it's just such a benefit, because usually what ends up happening when Carroll's in that position is he's running all over the place and nobody replaces that empty space that he leaves. And whereas in this last game, Rios was constantly in the box ready for service. And so whenever Swiderski was just making plays all over the pitch, there was still people in attacking positions ready to make the finish, which is what happened.
100%. And I want to give a quick shout out to our boy CLTFC Lucha as well. His Tifo was showcased this week, and this guy is at every game, and he's always I got a chance to capture Yazviak, like giving him his kit. And I mean, there's a good amount of fans that I know that like deserve stuff, like great things to happen. And you're one of them, bro. So I'm really happy I got to see that. And I'm happy that you had probably one of your best games. I just wanted to kind of give you a quick shout out for that, because you're always there, always supporting and always giving all of us love, man. CLTFC fans, me, us, everybody.
Yeah.
We appreciate.
He's also making my selfie game stronger week in, week out. He's really pushing me to make sure I get that selfie with him. In the first week, I couldn't even do it at all. This last week, I got most of my face in it. So progression.
Yeah, keep teaching our boy Brian here. So cool. I just wanted to get that shout out in. And then let's talk about that too. And I want to hear from everybody in the comment section as well, right? We're kind of back at that Shinyashiki dilemma still, because if Karol Swiderski is going to play more of the creative role, one would think that Andre Shinyashiki would be the starting striker, right? Especially if Lattanzio has said that he wants to play him in a more central role, right? So why have the last 2 games have we seen Rios start over Andre Shinyashiki, right? Not that we have anything against Rios. I thought he did great, and he proved why he started, right? But this comes back to, okay, you just signed a guy, and he's still not starting when your starting 9 is being dropped to an attacking role.
Well, wouldn't that be your job to ask Lattanzio in the press conference after the game?
Yeah, bro, but I can only ask 3 or 4 questions, but it'll definitely come up.
That should be number 1 then, I think.
Well,
yeah, I don't know what's going on, right? I mean,
it would be if we lost, right? But what's he going to answer to me? I started Rios and he scored? What am I going to say?
I don't know. I mean, when I saw it, I was with everybody else. Why is Andre not starting, man? Why is Rios starting? Blah, blah, blah. And then Rios scored, and it's like, well, obviously I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, you would think that Andre would be the starter over Rios for sure, right? And especially if Carroll's not playing up there. So I don't know, man. I mean, it was a tactic that worked. I mean, we swept the champions, man.
Yeah. And I think also it might be just another aspect to how Lattanzio coaches is he doesn't really seem to care about contract situations. I think he kind of seems to put a lot of that stuff to the side potentially, and is just like whatever 11 he wants to go with on that given day based on training, previous results. It seems like he has a completely different philosophy as to how he is willing to put out an 11 than Marwas, or really, I mean, almost any manager I've seen recently, unless it doesn't seem like he's willing to commit to an 11 in a lot of ways, and he's willing to just be like, there's another kind of approach that he's taking, at least this season, which also should be taken with a grain of salt because this hasn't been his full squad for the whole season, right? There's been a lot of changeover and things like that. So maybe that's not how he would coach normally, but
Right. But
Yeah.
my thing too, though, if I'm Andre Shinyashiki, I would be asking these questions, right? Like, hey,
Or training harder.
Well, if it was a training issue, then I don't think they would want him to stick around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And this goes into this question. What's up with Reyna? Right. I think the club want to move on with Reyna, right? We touched on it on Brian's article, right? The Queen's Gambit, which was a great article, by the way. Shout out Brian.
It was really good.
Right. A solid article. But the club is already, in my opinion, and in Brian's opinion, and all of us, right? We think that the club pretty much shot the season and said, all right, like, we're done. Let's start focusing on year 2, which in my opinion, that is a very poor way of looking at things, right? Especially if there's an opportunity to make playoffs, right? And I think that's what's going on with Reyna. Reyna's not a guy that the club sees that he's going to be here for long term. He's on $800K, right? They don't think he's going to consistently produce as that type of player, so they want to get rid of him. In my opinion, fine, if you do that, that's okay, but it's not okay to do it within when you're in touching distance of a playoff run, right? With a team that had no business being in a playoff run, with a coach that got fired, a whole new inaugural squad, right? And so that's what I think is going on with Reyna.
Yeah. I mean, and he's just kind of had an inconsistent career, right? I mean, he's like hit some really high highs, right? I mean, he's had he's had one season where I think he had 15 plus goal contributions, but he's also just kind of been a non-factor other times. And I would imagine long-term Charlotte sees themselves as being able to do way better with their money in terms of an 800K player than Reyna. And I think this goes back to kind of the lesson learned for what happens when you get to your plan B and plan C options. They need to hit on their plan A options far more in this winter window.
So, and this is the point too, just and then I'll let you speak, Lee, where Vargas seems to be stepping into his role. Yes, but I do think, however, Reyna is just a better overall player right now.
Yeah.
Right. So in his form and where he was at, in my opinion, this is one of the things that I would have against Latanzio is not utilizing the players that he has that have been effective when they're hot properly, right? Like benching Andre, benching Reyna. But then again, he's an interim coach, right? So we don't know what's going on behind those closed doors. Maybe they're saying, hey, we're trying to sell Reyna, don't play him, right?
I mean, wouldn't it be the opposite though, right? Going back to your point, like, hey, right, we fired Mars, we gave up on the season, right? We got Latanzio in his interim, right? And now we got these players. I don't know what kind of contract Rios is on, right? But it's like, are we just putting these guys in the shop window so we can sell them on, make a quick buck, and then turn around and use that for year 2?
Rios' contract is expiring at the end of this year. I'm pretty sure
It's just a 1-year contract.
I'm pretty sure he's gone after this season.
Oh, fair enough. Then that completely ruins my thought.
Sorry. Yeah.
Hell with you, Brian. But, you know, like other fringe players, right? You know, because like we were talking earlier, typically maybe outside the MLS, but when a coach gets fired in the middle of the season and you have an interim coach, basically it's like, hey, just get us to survive through this season, and then we'll do what we need to in the off season and then get ready to go next season, right? So it's a write-off, but I mean, I feel like the MLS is a little different in that aspect since there really isn't. Well, there isn't.
That's where I think Latanzio gets way too much heat, right? In my opinion, he deserves about 20 to 25% of the blame. The rest goes to the front office because, I mean, I get the feeling that the season they gave up on the season, right? That's a very poor way of looking at things in terms of when you still have an opportunity. If we were dead last, fine. Get rid of everybody, start taking. But no, you saw that this team played well at certain points, and you depleted your midfield. You shopped out Reyna, right?
Did away with it.
So,
yeah, I think it's probably around the same time as that Toronto loss is what it feels like to me. It's like that 4-0 Toronto loss kind of changed maybe the perspective on the season a little bit.
And somebody made a comment earlier too, which is another player I want to talk to about too. It's Malanda, man. How good has this guy been?
How unlucky was he not to score?
Yeah, unlucky not to score. That header he had, You know, Yazviak was unlucky not to score as well. I think we hit the post twice
Yeah.
this
Yep.
game.
But we hit
Milano,
the 90 on the outside, man.
yeah. So, you know,
But no, he's been a solid pickup.
yeah, in the comment section as well. What do we make of Melanda so far? I mean, he's come in and just slotted into our defense. Like, he's been there for years. Like, the MLS doesn't look like it's going to be a league that's difficult for him.
No,
I'm patting myself on the back. I've been singing his praises.
You really
have. Just absolutely.
So,
I finally got one right.
thanks to Brian, that's why he's here at Charlotte. He made all that happen, right?
Yeah.
No, but he's been solid, man. I mean, what does that mean when Caruso comes back, man? Does walks get dropped?
I think
That's a great question.
So. I would think there's a strong possibility of that. I think I would love to see the combination of Caruso and Melanda, just because I think Melanda offsets a lot of the deficiencies that Caruso has in terms of sometimes he plays himself out of position. Sometimes he's a little less composed on the ball. But Melanda covers that, because then it's just like whenever they need to have somebody on the ball in the back, Melanda's the guy to have the ball.
He's
and then he's what?
I said, and he's only 20, right?
Yeah, super composed. And so he kind of makes up for it. But then all the plus sides of Caruso can still all stand out. He can still make all those intense recoveries and those 1v1 tackles that are so pivotal as the last line of defense. He can still do all of those things. And then he just would have a different balance dynamic, I feel like, with Melanda just being kind of like the Caruso being like the fire, and then Melanda just kind of being like the calm presence that kind of like balances that situation out at the back. I would love to see that happen, but I do think Walks has kind of gotten the short end of the stick all season. Like Mar never wanting to, like, never playing him and rating him. Then he gets rated, right? Latanzio gives him the chance like immediately, and then it like people are like, wow, like he looks like really solid. And then Caruso goes down. Then the hype kind of gets on Jan for a little bit because he comes in, and then Melanda gets signed, and then so I think Walks has kind of been the second fiddle, or not even a fiddle, for like the whole season.
100%.
That's how it goes sometimes.
I mean, that back line looks pretty tight, right? With the new signings and everything. The only question, I guess, would be left back, right? What are we going to do there? I mean, I know Adam's one for the future, right? It's I don't know. Do we need to worry about the left back or not?
Speaking of left back too, man, I mean, this was Christian Fuchs' second red card, right? Credit to the team, because even when they went down a man, I mean, like, there really wasn't that much difference. Sure, the team played a little bit more conservative, but it wasn't like they were holding on for dear life through that.
No, they played with more grit and like more like, when there was that big scuffle right there at midfield, right? I mean, you could see it. That's what I've been asking for most of the season. Like when we were losing to when that Miami game where we went 2-up and ended up losing 3-2, I would have loved to seen some of that grit, man, in that game. And it was like, finally, we finally got it. And it was just good to see all the players backing each other up. And yeah, right. Fuchs, 2 red cards. I mean, the elbow was pretty blatant, I think, after watching it back.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you guys make of it? And everybody in the comments section as well, if you've watched the replay, I'm not sure why they didn't play it in the stadium.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it was a red card?
And then his first red card was just a professional foul, right? I mean, he had no really choice on that, right? I mean, but back to this game, I think he got what he deserved, to be honest with you. It looked pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was intentional, but it was still like an elbow directly to the face. And like, as a really experienced veteran player in that situation, who's been in a situation just thousands and thousands and thousands of times, to like just know where you're like how that situation unfolds.
Just hit him in the chest, man.
Yeah, to bring the elbow down, right? Just not squarely in the mouth, right? Yeah. Like, which is where he got him.
Yeah, that's it. I should just put him in the chest, man, and we could have watched him flop around for an hour.
He's just such a, I mean, for such a veteran player to have that kind of lack of composure in that situation is definitely alarming at this point. When it's like, you could tell the fight of the team, they wanted that win. You could tell they really wanted it, and to have that kind of situation come up.
But with that being said, that was a straight red. That's 3 games, right? He's out for the season.
Oh, shoot. I didn't even think about that.
right? I mean, we got 4 games left, right? He may play that last game just as a farewell goodbye to Charlotte. I don't know.
Dang, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
welcome.
no, because he can't play because he has the red card suspension for the Columbus game too. I don't even know how that will all.
But didn't that get overturned though?
The red card, for the Toronto game that got overturned.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean for the rest of this
Hold on.
season,
How many Reds has Fuchs got total?
he's got 2. He's got 2
Right, he got 1 last week, and then he got the 1
in Toronto.
Toronto. But yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean,
Both straight reds.
he's out, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, Mora in is fine by me. I think honestly he's been playing better than him, more often anyway. I mean, he just in 1v1 situations he's been solid. I mean, I really think it just comes down to when do we start to see Burn come in from the start? Because I think whether it's Fuchs or I mean, obviously now it's going to be Mora. I think that you kind of end up having a back 3 a lot of the time, and you just have Burn push way up the field because I mean, Burn's just going to be an electric player.
Yeah, I mean, Mora, I think, has done. He's come leaps and bounds. He's been one of the most improved players this season, I think. Right? He's definitely up there in that list. So,
100%. I think top 3 positions, and maybe what you guys think as well, and people in the comment section that we need desperately going into this window is a left back, a creative midfielder, another attacking midfielder, as well as Frederiski played Saturday. I don't think
but we got Nuno, right? When are we going to see him play?
Yeah, well, I don't think Nuno's just going to be a 10. He's going to be more of an 8, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, because assuming Jones is gone, right? That puts Bronico back in his 6.
I would add another right winger, right? You know?
Yeah.
So,
And they need at least they need at least 2 or 3 midfielders. I mean, they sold 3. I mean, they're still missing. I mean, Chris Hagar obviously likely gets a depth spot next season as well, but I mean, they're still short at least 2 or 3. So they're gonna have to do some serious signing there.
what do we think about Jalen? I'm assuming it's Lindsay because I don't know who Jalen Gibson
Yeah.
is.
Jalen Gibson's that one fella we were in for, and the deal didn't go through.
Yeah.
And, I just think that Latanzio doesn't favor him as much as he does a Fool. So
Yeah, I think I think with Jalen Lindsay right now, especially, it's just the way the game is played and the way they want to play is with a very modern attacking fullback setup. And Lindsay just doesn't really. I mean, he put in a really good ball, but I think what they're looking for more is is he willing to make inside runs, outside runs, attack like a winger, and then also still be able to get back defensively. And it requires a ton of running. And it's not that he's maybe not for it. It's just that is whether or not he has the pace to keep that for 90
exactly
minutes.
Where I was going, right?
And I think that's where it's just falling a little bit short. I don't know increasing your pace is something typical to do, but you can do it with better composure and positioning, right? So you can kind of set yourself up. And I think that's what Byrne can maybe help him with, because Byrne's positioning is constantly, he is from all the tape I've seen of him, is just he is constantly a step ahead of almost every player on the field in terms of knowing when to push forward, when to get back. And that can make up for less pace. You can make up for less pace. I mean, Giorgio Chiellini has done that his whole career. Obviously, he plays a different position, but there's guys who make up for lack of pace in terms of their awareness and stuff like that. And so I think that's what Jalen's just going to have to work on. And I think Byrne coming in provides hey, this is that next level of that modern fullback. You got to get here. And that can be his job, but he's got to get there, right? I think for me, that's kind of the situation. I don't think he's out. I think it's just we want to increase that level, and then he's got to get there.
Yeah, I think Jalen one-on-ones and all that is a solid defender, man. But like you said, once you get pushing up to that final third, his crossing's decent too. Yeah. It's just, like you said, he's kind of slow at getting back, right? Not meaning that he's not trying. I just don't think the pace is there.
No, I think he either picks in this possession forward, I'm either going to kind of stay back, which he does, and then when he's there, he's in good position, or like he chooses one or the other. But like ideally in a modern game, you can do almost both simultaneously, which is what makes that position so difficult now.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing both.
Well, I mean, the whole defender, especially the wing backs, right? That whole position's changed over the years for sure. I mean, you're almost a part of the attacking now, right?
Yep.
100%. And then I want to touch on this as well. Like Derrick Jones, man, he's played really, really solid the last couple of games, man, to a point where like he's being preferred at that 6 role, and we're seeing Brant play more of an 8, right? Like that's why we're seeing Brant at the end of attacks taking shots on goal, right? Because I mean, I think Derrick Jones has come in and played really, really well.
Yeah, I think they should definitely take a long, hard think on whether or not, because his contract's expiring as well. And there's a couple advantages to re-signing a player like Jones. One, his contract is not going to put a huge dent on the salary cap, which is always a plus. He's also a homegrown, technically, like he's got a homegrown status, which means he can't get picked up. He doesn't need to be protected for the expansion draft coming up. So there's also that. So there's definitely a couple of pluses. And like, for me, I think he's been one of the key players, like just in terms of like providing experience and physicality to the midfield that has been like just not there almost all season.
100%. And I mean, that was which was kind of funny, right? Which one of the things Miguel told us at the beginning of the season was like, we're missing somebody in the midfield with physicality.
Yeah.
They brought him in, and then he never played him.
Well, they played him once, I think, and we were like, well, there it is, right? And then he never played again.
Yeah, another story for another day. So, but yeah, definitely. I think the club in the next transfer window will go for another 6 as well. Yeah. Somebody that maybe can compete with Brant, or that, is just that next level 6, right? And Brant can be right there pushing him. So I definitely think if the club don't keep him, it's because they're planning on replacing him with probably someone with a little bit higher of a ceiling. So it'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye on what the club does this next window as well. And so, but this is what I want to see. I want to see them spend some freaking money, right? And if they don't, but we can find great players. But that's the issue too, right? Like you have to spend, in my opinion, in at least 2 or 3 key positions to be competitive, right? Like you're not going to find 11 Molandas. Right.
I mean, I think that's one of the problems with the MLS too, right? You can only have so many people on your roster, right? It's not like you can take that chance and put him in and then drop him down to the under 21s, if you will, like they do in Europe, right? I mean, it's basically academy kids or the first team. It's like there isn't really much in between.
Well, the MLS Next Pro setup should help with that, potentially a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it won't do a ton because, I mean, they still, like, at the end of the day, you can only have 3 DPs and these other positions. I do think the way the rosters are built, especially now with some of the modern rules that have come in, like the U22 initiative, for me, that's why, like, Vargas is going to be extremely key. And this is why I really appreciate the amount of minutes he's getting now, even if it's sacrificing Reyna, is that, like, going into next year, if he can really like start to pop and really fit in and gel and potentially maintain a starting position, him being a U22 initiative player is a huge boost to the team in general, because like, I mean, you're essentially getting a starter then for like peanuts. And like, especially with, I mean, he clearly has a high ceiling. That's why they would bring him in that situation. And he was getting looked at by Porto, I think. And so he clearly has a pretty high ceiling. So if that potential can get reached, you not only have him for like, I mean, super cheap contract, you also get to have him maintain that status until he's like 24 or 25. So there's almost like no incentive to sell him on. You can keep him for years, and unless he demands a move, you have a young, really exciting talent that you can keep for years and years that like puts no pressure on the salary cap at all. Which, I mean, so if you look at LAFC, that's what Cifuentes is doing for them right now. So like people are looking at LAFC and all the big money moves they've made, but behind the scenes, it was Cifuentes like 2-3 years ago, and he developed into where he's at now. And NYCFC, Talis Magno is in a similar situation. So I think Vargas for me is like really one of the key guys going into next year.
I think so. I think going into next year as well, if you take a look at that left-hand side on that wing, you'll have Vargas there, and you'll most likely have Yazviak there, right? So competing. Yeah. Hopefully, year 2 we see a better version of Yazviak, because I do think there's a player there. My only concern is, will we ever see it consistently, right?
Yep.
And so imagine you got Yazviak and Vargas fighting for that left. You have Swiderski at the 9, right? Because ideally we would get that DP attacking midfielder. And on the right, you have Gaines, and then you add somebody else as well, another quality player there, and you're starting to form like this will be a pretty good attack.
Yeah. If they can get that DP, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think at wing they go with, if they can get one more DP at the wing, then you're looking at a really different dynamic attack, for sure. Now it doesn't have to, like, so when it comes to like spending money too, I mean, you definitely got to spend more than a little, right? So I mean, there's a huge difference when you spend that $2 million for Carroll, but it doesn't have to be Shaqiri, right? I mean, Shaqiri and Carroll have the same numbers, and they're saving $5 million,
right?
So
that just looks better for him because they're winning. Or they were winning.
They were, yeah. But after they've kind of pretty up and down season. Yeah.
But I mean, to talk about the money part of it, I mean, look at Philly, right? I mean, there was an awesome tweet. I'm not sure who was it, but I retweeted it just to kind of prove the point that money doesn't always guarantee you that success either, right? I mean, you can go out and drop millions of dollars on players, and if they just can't settle or something's off, right, it's just not going to work. So
yeah, I mean, look, Atlanta's the best example of that. I mean,
100%. And I mean, Atlanta's been around long enough too now where their academy should be like starting to feed the first team and that sort of thing too, right? I mean, just like Philly and how Seattle did it, right? It's good to see that machine just cranking out players and really doing it. So we'll see, man. We'll see if Tepper's going to open up the wallet.
Yeah, and Philly's at a completely another level. I mean, it's just, I mean, they had four kids starting for the U20 U.S. Youth National Team for that qualifying for the World Cup, their U20 World Cup and Olympics. I mean, to have 4 starters, I mean, it's just outrageous at where they're at. And I think a big part of that too, and it doesn't mean that Charlotte has to do that exact model, but I think whatever the model is that Charlotte kind of chooses to go by, sticking to it, and like that's the expectation, that's the plan. Because I think that's what really Philadelphia did well, more than just sticking to the academy. It was like this was their plan. They was, and like long term, they had this vision back when they sucked in like 2012.
Well, we've talked about that too. I mean, even like Jorge's other team, DC United, they're starting 15-year-olds now, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, you can tell. I mean, to be fair for DC United, I'm sure they've pretty much given up on that season, right? So let's see what's available to us and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, you know, we've got some players I won't mind seeing, man. I mean, we're still winning the playoffs.
You know, for the rest of the season, right? What are we looking to see? Even like we played more of a 4-2-3-1, right? Are we going to see Nuno Santos get game time as well if we're playing Brandt and Jones and we're playing Swiderski at that cam role?
Yeah, I think we still will. I mean, so even though like on paper 4-2-3-1 is definitely kind of what it's set up as, and definitely at times Bronico would sit deep in that double pivot, but he was also still definitely given. I mean, he was there for that run for Swiderski on the through ball over the top. So like it wasn't like, and Bronico had done that a couple of times, because I actually give Bronico a lot of credit. He's pretty underrated at being able to time those runs. Yeah. It's just the finish that's just
underrated all season, man.
He times the runs really, really well. But I think Nuno can still. I mean, Nuno can do that as well, right? So whether it's a single pivot or a double pivot in those different situations, it seems like throughout the game they kind of switch between the two, and I think Nuno can still slide right in there. It's just whether or not they give him the time, you know, because right now that 3 this last week, I don't think we see it change, because Latanzio tends to keep this thing. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at too, right? Do you continue to play Jones, Brandt, and Swiderski, or do you take out Jones if you're planning on getting rid of him and throw in Nuno in there, right?
I mean, if anything else, sub him in around the 65th minute and play it, right? I mean, Ideally, in my opinion, we're still in the hunt. We're not mathematically out of the playoffs yet, right?
No.
And until that happens, I think we still need to be playing as if we're trying to get in there.
Yeah.
I get that as well, but there's only 4 games left, right? So how does that affect the chemistry of the team if Nuno, who in my opinion is going to be a guy that's looking to start next year?
I mean, that's the next year problem, right? I mean, you're just trying to get him some minutes this year just to kind of see how he is and help him get settled and playing, right?
Fair.
Yeah. I think Latanzio, likely based on just how he's kind of approached lineup structure, if they keep winning, he'll probably keep it the same because that's kind of what his MO has been, is like if they win, he kind of goes with the same lineup pretty much every win he's had. And if they lose, that's when he tends to kind of shake things up, sometimes drastically, sometimes just a piece or two. And then even if not, if like Santos comes in training hard, which is really what I appreciate about Latanzio in terms of the culture he's starting to build here, which I think goes under the radar, underappreciated, is that he has a basic set of demands of like what is expected from players in the club. And if Santos meets those demands, he's likely to get the minutes. Obviously, this last game, I think I would imagine he was going to get minutes, but then shorter man, and the script completely flips on you, and he's out of the equation at that time. So obviously, if they stay away from red cards, that will also help him get the minutes.
100%. Nice. Well, cool. Let's move on a little bit then and do a little bit of a Chicago preview.
Hell yeah, we will.
Currently, right now, they're losing 3-1 to Montreal.
Yeah.
So, that's a good thing for us, right? And so, a team that came to Charlotte, and we saw what a player like Shaqiri can do. They beat us at home. Going into this game away, what needs to change? We definitely have an upper hand, given that they had to play in the middle of the week, which turned out to be beneficial for us against New York as well.
And has been beneficial multiple times. We've won at least 4. I haven't finished doing all the stats, but at this point, I think we might be 4-0 in this situation where we have.
No, we're not using that as an excuse. We just beat them, man. We're Charlotte. That's what we do.
Okay.
He's using it as a positive thing. He's saying,
I'm saying,
I know I'm just saying, I don't want like the midweek game stuff to kind of cloud the fact that we won. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just saying.
We should criticize the team more if they play bad. If Chicago outplays them and they had to play middle of the week, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get outplayed. I think the big key this week is going to be not playing Bender and Quinn McNeil in the middle and sticking with Jones, because Jones didn't start in that game against Chicago the last time. It was McNeil and Bender, and man, there's just no composure. Shaqiri could do what he wanted. They really all could. It wasn't just them, right? Lindsay couldn't clear the ball on the second goal. There's like a lot of just lack of composure. And I think Jones can bring some of that physicality. And I think this is a really big game for him. Like, this is a really big
on the road.
Huh?
And we're on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's a huge moment for Jones. If he can step up and just take on like the highest paid player in the league and kind of help shut him down with some physicality, I think that would be huge for both him, potentially for the rest of the season. And then also just, that's what is, Charlotte's going to need to win, is like to be able to like lock that down a bit more. Cause he was just free roaming. It was crazy.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And also, this is way more of an experienced midfield that you're putting out as well. And I think that's important, man. As much as I love Quinn and Ben, right? Yes. And we've been preaching this ever since they played, and they played well. Like, you need to integrate these guys. Like, they can't just be playing week in, week out. And we saw that. We saw playing them like in a consistent run of games. They just weren't ready for it, right? Maybe Ben a little bit more than Quinn, but even then, I'm like, these are guys that you need to integrate that have been doing well. That Ben's had a spectacular season. Quinn has gone in there and done a great job as well, and he's going to look like a solid MLS player. But again, we need more experience, like Brian mentioned as well.
Well, maybe that's why Latanzio's benched him too, right? It's just to kind of let them simmer on what they've done and what they need to improve on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just put them in better situations for them to succeed. I think that's actually one other thing that Latanzio at times, like there's definitely situations where he's maybe struggled to do that for like Reina and Shinashiki, but I think he really has done pretty well in terms of trying to set up Bender for success. And when he hasn't, he's kind of switched his role. Like when he got those 2 assists for Nashville, he put him in when the spaces started to open up and he was able to do his thing. Whereas when he puts him in these situations, or the reason I think he's lost a lot of starting time recently is because those spaces aren't there. And when Ben doesn't have space, I mean, it's just a completely different Ben.
And he's also being asked to mark probably the toughest players as well, and he's getting bullied.
Yeah. I don't know why that's happening on set pieces. Like, brutal.
Right. Nice. Someone said, Christian said, does anyone know our chances of playoff? Is it pretty bad? It is pretty bad.
Yep.
You know,
We're
we need
6 points out of playoffs with 4 to go, and Columbus is losing 1-0 right now, so it's in our favor.
Montreal's beating.
Yeah, Montreal's beating Chicago 3-1. But yeah, I mean, we're 6 points. We're 6 points out of the playoff spot with 4 to go. You know,
I mean,
so
we have a shot, but like, you know,
yeah, it's very slim. I mean, Christian, you're the guy that bets the money, man. Go drop out $200 real quick on Charlotte making the playoffs, and that'll pay off dividends for you, I'm sure, if we make it.
This is another great question by Bridget as well. Does Latanzio play the same lineup as Saturday?
I think Brian hit on that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he will.
Yes, I mean, I think attacking wise, I mean, he's never changed. After a win, he hasn't changed his attack at all. The only position he's changed before after a win has been left back, and that was Fuchs for Mora, and he has to make that switch this week. So that will, in my opinion, probably very likely be the only switch we see him make. I think he goes with the same formation. Rios clearly was able to handle being that that striker that maintained a forward position and maintained the position and space inside the box, so that Swiderski could be a free roaming player and that technician that has been really, even when he's been the striker, has been his best calling card. And so, I don't see us making it. And I think Vargas needs to keep getting minutes. I think, and I touched on that earlier as well, and like sort of the reasons why. And then, man, you could say maybe take out Camille, but man, Camille looked good. Like Camille looked good this weekend. So even though the final product hasn't been there, man, I really wish that goal had gone in when he hit it up.
Oh man, he was so unlucky, dude. It was such a killer shot too.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
Another great question. Do we play Carroll in the midfield again with Rios up top? I think we just kind of covered that 100%. I think we saw. I don't think Carroll is the long-term solution at the attacking midfield role, but I definitely think it's a role that we can slot him into. That's a great thing also about having like a versatile player like Karol Swiderski. Even against, who was it? When we first saw him at the attacking role, when Shinyashiki came in, he was thrown on the wing. Then Rios came in.
Home game. Who did we play our last home game? Not shit.
I can't remember.
Orlando City.
Who?
Yeah, I think it was Orlando.
Was it?
Then Rios came in. He threw Shinyashiki on the wing and threw Carroll at that creative role as well. So it's definitely a position that he can play well, but I definitely don't think long term this is the solution, right?
No, it was Toronto, right?
Toronto. Yeah, you're right. It was Toronto.
2-0.
Come on, Brian. I'm over here backing you up, bro.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Bam. That was a little one.
Does Andre get time if Rios isn't playing well?
Man, I really wish we could get Latanzio on here real quick and just be like, hey, man, let's put this to bed. Tell us why you keep starting Rios over Andre, man, and just let us know. Like, what's it? Contract? Is it mentality? Is it fitness? Like, just tell us, Latanzio. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, my phone's ringing. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Stop hitting at you.
He'll be like, listen, I talked to Simeone at Atletico Madrid, and he said do a Griezmann on him. We're only going to play him after minute 60 to not pay Barcelona. We're definitely not starting Andre Shinyashiki to not pay Colorado. That's probably his answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we touched it earlier on the show as well, but it's just confusing to me, right? If he obviously he's favoring Rios right now, right? But
I mean, it worked.
it worked, but my thing is if Andre Shinyashiki is the long-term play, right, to be the backup, why isn't he starting? So
I don't know, man. I don't know. He does have his number, but Latanzio still has his international number, and Jorge hasn't got that on his bill. That's not part of his plan, so he can't go internationally.
100%.
You have to WhatsApp him or whatever it is.
Nice. I had that super gel this weekend. Yeah, I definitely did, bro. And so it's a top bin gel coming out next year.
I've been jelly.
Where's Quinn, was he on? He was on the bench, wasn't he? Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's been on the bench. I mean,
it's just, yeah.
I mean, it's just he hasn't played as well as we needed out of the midfield.
100%. All right, and then finally, let's do some score predictions. I want to hear from everybody in the comments section. Does Charlotte get its third away win this weekend, or do we draw or lose? And I'll start off with Lee, my man. You don't win.
I know I'm torn with this one, man, because I know we need to win, but then we're on the road and we're playing Chicago, who technically we should beat, but we didn't beat at home. So, and we're really not scoring more than one goal a game. So it's like, do I go with 2-1 Chicago, 1-1 Charlotte? I'm going to go 1-1 Charlotte, dude. And I think that's going to be where we actually officially are out of the playoffs and we can do whatever we need to do for the last 3 games. 1-1.
Brian?
2-0 Charlotte. I think we were due more than a 1-0 win. We played way better than a 1-0 win. We hit the bar twice, and then we had a red card. But we should have been 2-0 up at half. And I think we took advantage of a depleted NYCFC, and they were on poor form. And we tend to take advantage of teams that have either on poor form or on a short week. And Chicago's on a short week, so this is prime time opportunity for them to. I mean, their first ever road win, Houston was on a short week, so I think we're going to do the same thing. 2-0, Vargas with 1. I think Vargas gets his first. He's due. Dude is due. He's going to put in a rocket, and then
not too early though.
Most of the time. The early goals are okay.
I need it at the 5th minute and on, right?
Yeah.
Anything before the 5th minute, we're screwed, man.
Yeah. So Vargas will get the early one, and then Nuno comes in off the bench and gets one in like the 76th.
Yeah, side note, I think it was funny. Somebody asked Latanzio at a press conference once. He was like, "Hey, do you think going up so early is beneficial?" He's like, "What coach would not want to start winning the game 1-0?"
Yeah, right.
Somebody asked that question.
Yeah.
It was something amongst right? Yeah. I'm like, I'll take a 1-0 start any day of the week. You know?
I mean, yeah, you're gonna take a goal when you got it, right? But just talking junk like we are here is like, just don't score right? The 5th minute, yeah.
It depends with Fuchs out. Oh, Swiderski?
I don't know, man.
I'd give it to Swiderski.
I mean, that's his job, right? To score.
Yeah, so definitely him.
Oh, we're sub him off and bring Andre in. Just for the penalty.
Well, Daniel Rios did Panenka Mendy.
That's true.
Composure is something that's that takes.
I mean, even Chicharito couldn't do that, right?
Chicharito, yeah.
Or Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
Kalina takes him. Yeah, I definitely think it'll be a Charlotte FC win. It has to be a Charlotte FC win. I mean, Chicago's playing tonight. They're not a great team. They're gonna you have a whole week, you're coming off of a win. You played well at points against Cincinnati as well, right? And so let's just not make any individual errors. Individual mistakes is this team's Achilles heel. It's not that we're getting outplayed every game. It's we have good moments. We don't capitalize. A mistake happens, 1-0. We're going for the draw, counter. or another mistake, 2-0. They put the game to bed, right? And so hopefully this weekend, I think I'm gonna go with a Vargas brace. And so 2 goals by our Colombian winger, and he'll score. Somebody in the crowd will throw him some Colombian coffee, and he'll sip it on the sideline and be like, "Yo."
Now Malanda gets his header this week.
Nice. Last, I really like our CB positions moving forward. Yeah, I think we got some great options there, right? I think the least of our concerns going into year 2 is the center backs, and so I think the 4 that we have are really solid. Hopefully, we get to see Corujo back as well. Hopefully, we get to see him back in his form, right? And so that's always a question thing when you have these ACL surgeries, right? So how will the player come back? Will he come back? Will he ever get back to that same level? So,
yeah.
Yep.
Right. My man Lee, where can we find you at?
At COTFC Fan TV. Drop the fan reactions today. Doing a live show tomorrow at 9. We're going to do a live watch along since it's an away game against Chicago on Saturday. We're on all social COTFC Fan TV. If you haven't checked us out, hit the sub button, like us, do all that fun jazz, and do the same for Top Bin.
Nice. Mr. Brian, Bam, where can we find you?
Yeah, y'all can find me at Bam Mauer Media on Twitter. And you can also find all my written articles at topin90.com. Subscribe to the website as well.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, you can find me at TopBin90 everywhere. We're just going to leave this here for
No. Please don't end it right here. Hey, Hub Likes, go to the beginning of the show, man, and I've already beat you to the punch, bro.
Nice. With that, guys, have a good night. Thanks, everybody, for coming on. I'll answer this quickly. I think we will see Nuno as long as we don't get another red this weekend. And so have a good night, everybody, and thank you for coming on. Good.